Hello, and welcome back to yet another Bug Fables community choice. A while ago, I asked you what your favorite chapter in Bug Fables was, and though in total there are 7 chapters, we're only going to focus on 5 in this video. Before we see the actual results though, unless you want to skip ahead in this video, I won't stop you. Community polls only have a limit of about 5 options, and that means I cannot put all 7 in a poll. So the method I had to use to get my votes was a little less reliable because I can't get the right votes from people just from, putting a poll feature up there. On the community tab, I mean. So if you didn't see the poll and you weren't able to vote as a result of that, I am sorry, but I'm only doing the best I can. Anyway, on with the voting. In 5th place with 6% of the votes is Chapter 2, Sacred Golden Hills. Now, personally, this is actually my favorite chapter in the game. There's a lot about Chapter 2 I really like. It's the chapter where everything just opens up for you after being confined for so long for such a small area in Chapter 1. You can shop and buy items with your berries now. You can cook items and experiment with recipes. You can buy medals. You meet so many more characters like Eleazar II, Team Afiva, Team Slacker even. And overall, when I first played this chapter blind, I was completely mesmerized by the music that plays in the Golden Settlement and in the Golden Hills too. It was when I finally started to really love Bug Fables, and it made me feel truly immersed in its world. Everything just felt so alive, especially when the Golden Settlement Festival took place. So to me at least, it just holds a very special place in my heart. I understand why this was not very popular for other people, since the game only opens up more from here, but I just really like Chapter 2. And fun fact, it was actually a tie between Chapter 2 and Chapter 4, but I decided Chapter 2 would win out because, well, in a tiebreaker, I get to choose. Fair is fair, am I right? But yeah, that's your number 5 pick. And 4th place with 7% of the votes is Chapter 7. What a coincidence, 7 and 7. Anyway, the Everlasting Sapling. What can really be said about it? It's a relatively short chapter, about as long as Chapter 1 really if you know what you're doing. And I just really like the atmosphere in this place. It's so gloomy and foreboding. You really get the feeling that you really are a bug in this world, and you truly begin to understand just how small you really are. You see all these spears from the wasp as well, and it really just sells how daunting of a place this is supposed to be to traverse through. You're in Deadlands territory now, and you are not welcome here. And it overall just has this really big everyone is here vibe to it. Team Ant, Team Celia, Team Mackie, even Eleazar II is accompanying you. Not to mention the absolutely sick final boss to be fought here. Though it does feel a bit weaker on the story side as well. Like you have this ancient civilization of roaches that are just guarding the Everlasting Sapling. And all it takes is a single talking down from Leaf and it changes their entire perspective. Kinda silly, especially considering that this game's story isn't really even that bad. But I guess it's workable. All in all though, that's my thoughts on Chapter 7. In 3rd place, with 20% of the votes, and a sizable step up from Chapter 7 no less, Chapter 3, Factory Inspection. So Chapter 3 is great for similar reasons to Chapter 2. Not only in the environments that open up, but also some of the attractions that open up to you too. Like it's here you can fight Misty or Scarlet and gain access to the Underground Tavern, as well as try out spy cars for yourself. And if you're like me, you've gotten your butt handed to you in spy cars, and you probably need a guide to know how to play the game properly too. But it's also here you finally find a use for your crystal berries, and you can make some really good medals with them. And those medals only get better as the game progresses too. This chapter also introduces the V's, and in my opinion the best queen of the entire game. Love Bianca. And have you ever tried to look out the telescope and see how the entire world looks from your perspective? I love how this game just visually explains how all these areas are able to connect with each other by showing that the Lost Sands was a sandbox. Just those cute details make this game feel so much more alive too. If there's anything about this chapter I don't like, however, it's playing this chapter on hardest. It makes the honey factory an absolute terror to try. Okay, listen. On hard mode, I'm already pretty paranoid of being trapped in the honey factory. But on hardest mode, I don't want to be trapped in here forever, okay? That aside, Chapter 3 is also request to get a lot more interesting too. Remember, this is the chapter that really starts off Leaf's quest. And every once in a while, I think everyone appreciates getting a good Queen's dinner. All in all, I'm rather fond of Chapter 3. And it seems like y'all are too for being your 3rd pick. In 2nd place, with 25% of the votes, it's Chapter 5, The Far Wild Lands. Oh boy. Here's the chapter with some serious character development for Kabu. Remember what I said about Chapter 7's atmosphere? Well, Chapter 5's atmosphere is simply the pinnacle of all of that. The area starts off being grassy and wild, as if the ants really had not been touching this place at all. And it really serves the name of the song well, called Lands Untamed. But then in your efforts to really get to Wasp's territory and challenge them head on, you enter the wild swamplands, quite possibly my favorite area in the game by atmosphere alone. The dark sky and purple foliage just do so much to really make this place feel so ominous and dangerous to be wandering in. And all the while, you just have this nagging suspicion that there's something lurking trying to eat you at any given moment. The very same fiend that took Kabu's friends away from him when he was trying to escape the wild swamplands and make it to the Ant Kingdom to join the Explorers Association, leaving our favorite Beetle Blade just racked with survivor's guilt. It's also this chapter that just leaves us with the absolute most anime moment in the entire game, where Kabu in blind rage just completely flies up and just starts pelting the beast with everything he's got once his friends are endangered. I remember my blind playthrough of this game, where I actually went at this fight on accident with hard hits equipped in addition to hard mode. And the fight was just grueling. I actually almost lost, but I had V with very low HP, and Kabu I think had only 1 HP left, and I had a spicy bomb, which was just enough to drop the beast to 10 HP. And all of a sudden, I went from, okay, I'm dead, to, holy shoot, this is anime. Was just such a sick moment in this entire game for me. And then there's the twist of getting duped by Ultimax and the Wasp King, which leads to a very touching match called moment for Elisabeth II. And from what I can tell, cemented her as the best queen for a lot of people. It's funny how nowadays, we expect the queen to be evil that we're helping the entire time, just for her to never betray us, but just seem to be very insecure. And you know, big props to the creators of this game, because that is just such a tired cliche at this point. All in all, Chapter 5 is one chapter that I very much like, and I'm very happy this chapter ended up being at second place on this list. And in first place, with 31% of the votes, is Chapter 6, Assault on Rubber Prison. Ah yes, from Chapter 5 to Chapter 6. How coincidental. Chapter 6 is a very climactic chapter for sure. It starts you up in this rather creepy but really cool monochromatic area called the Forsaken Lands, leading to quite possibly everyone's favorite town, the termite capital, and the music within it. I guess people just really like lo-fi music. It's also here where you fight for glitz and glory in the Colosseum of the termites. Just to then we get the rematch of Primal Weevil, have the rug pulled from under you by Team Moth, where after your victory, you get access to a submarine, allowing you to travel all across the Meadow Lake and take your trek to Rubber Prison, where you're liberated from the Wasps and fight General Ultimax once and for all. All in all, this is a pretty cool chapter, though I'm not the biggest fan of it. I guess it is cool getting to fight Team Mothava again, but at the same time, I don't even like Team Mothava, so it's kind of bittersweet for me. This is also the chapter where a lot of challenge in this game is effectively gone if you want to play with certain metals. But I can't see why this chapter is so popular. I just don't personally agree with it all. In any case, that's Chapter 6, your favorite chapter in Bug Fables, the Everlasting Sapling. And with that said, thank you for watching, hope to see you next time.